Hey guys, we're here today recording our tier list video for all of the new Pokemon in Legends Arceus. Now, if you clicked on this video, you were obviously anticipating spoilers, but I waited to specifically release this until the games came out, at least in Japan. So then hopefully I avoided as much spoilers as possible, but yeah. We're here today, though, with our official tier list ranking all of these Pokemons. If you enjoy, leave a like below and subscribe for more content just like this. I'm not going to mention any story spoilers. This is only off of stats, which we do know all the, at least placeholder stats, if nothing else. So with that in mind, let's get into it. So I'm ranking quite literally every new Pokemon. This includes the unevolved Pokemon. I want to do this that way then any of the Pokemon that, let's say for example, like Sneasler, that might be useful outside of just like a really bottom tier, I thought that we could at least acknowledge those as somewhat useful Pokemon. And also for the Pokemon that specifically are just really garbage, I can at least put them in the same tier as the Pokemon that maybe aren't unevolved, but are still really garbage. So we're just going to go completely down the list. Luckily, these are all in order. And with that said, let's start off with Hisuian Growlithe. So Hisuian Growlithe is a fire rock typing. Its placeholder abilities are Intimidate, Flash Fire, and Justified. In most cases for the Hisuian Pokemon, they didn't really change besides maybe an ability or two. Its stats are pretty unimpressive actually. It's 5 speed lower than regular Growlithe. It's 5 special attack lower. It has 5 more HP though and 5 more attack. Really, regular Growlithe wasn't that good anyway, so easy choice. Hisuian Arcanine though, its placeholder abilities are the same. It has 5 more HP and 5 more attack, and then again the 5 lower special attack and 5 lower speed. So Arcanine didn't really care about the speed, to be completely honest. I do think as well that having the rock typing could actually give it some use in VGC if nothing else. With the fact that it would be an Intimidator that could also actually bully Incineroar, which is pretty useful because it would have rock. On top of it as well, with Stab Rock Slide, pretty useful. And 90 is still a pretty good speed tier for Tailwind teams, and especially with Justified, if it kept that would actually be amazing. However, this is mostly for the singles perspective. It could be good in VGC. I think this could actually be a pretty decent Pokemon in VGC. Like, if these were equating to VGC tiers, I would put it in, like, my second tier, personally. Well, second tier, barring the obvious, like, restricted Pokemon tier. But in terms of singles, I think this will probably be a pretty clear NU and below Pokemon as well. Mostly just because the fact that... Actually, I'm going to make a Little Cup tier really quickly. Just because I can already see where this is going in terms of trying to get the colors out here. So we're going to make an LC tier. Just because I feel like this tier is actually going to be pretty bloated, thinking it out loud. But then Arcanine, though, definitely an NU Pokemon. I feel like in singles, that the fire rock typing isn't really that good. It's 4 times weak to 2 of the most common types in singles, being water and ground. I think this will shine more in VGC, though, and it definitely shows, is similar to how Pokemon's been for a while, with their priorities being in the VGC meta, which is perfectly fine. I like VGC a lot, and it makes a lot of sense, but that's definitely just where the priorities seem to lie. Hisuian Voltorb, pretty garbage. The stats end up all being the exact same, just as a grass typing now. Really, honestly, I feel like this doesn't help a lot for singles, so I feel like these both, again, their stats are the exact same for both forms. Abilities for currently are the same. I think this is still going to be pretty garbage. The only edge this really has is the fact that it's electric type that can hit grounds, which is now a commodity again because of hidden power being cut in games for a lot of Pokemon. However, again, I can't really see this being that good of a Pokemon. Realistically, this is still too passive to really do much damage. It would have base 80 in special attack and 50 in physical attack, so I can't see it being that good outside of like a Light Clay user. But to be fair, at least this time, it could have a Light Clay user without a move that's immune to a whole type. Next up, though, we have Hisuian Typhlosion is the next Pokemon up here. On Hisuian Typhlosion, I personally think this will be a pretty decent Pokemon. Its stats that changed, it lost 5 in speed, and it gained... it also lost 5 in HP, and it gained 10 in special attack. So I think with the Fire Ghost typing, it could be pretty good. Albeit, even if it kept its same moves and its same abilities, Flash Fire and Blaze are both pretty good options on it. In terms of the moves that this Pokemon ended up having, if we go to Typhlosion, I mean, it has, for example, Ominous Wind, so at least potentially get that stat boost, as well as Shadow Ball, which is pretty useful. Special coverage outside of that isn't the best, but to be fair, this could obviously change once the actual games come out. Like, once the actual transfer comes out. For now, though, it guaranteed does keep Eruption at the very least, which is really nice as well for the Scarf sets. I think this will be a solid RU Pokemon, to be honest. The ghost typing, I think, is really what helps put it in there. Just the offensive ghost with a decent speed and also a type immunity, well, multiple type immunities with fighting, normal, and potentially fire if you're on flash fire. So I think it's pretty useful actually for Typhlosion. And as I said, Scarf Eruption or Scarf Shadow Ball, both should be pretty damning to a lot of teams. So yeah, next up, we have the Hisuian Qwilfish. So Hisuian Qwilfish, I think actually would be a pretty decent Pokemon personally. Dark Poison is a phenomenal typing, and this almost has the same stats as like already viable Dark Poisons. On top of that as well, you could throw in a Violet in this Pokemon once it is officially transferable in the main story, like Sword and Shield for example. And with 85 defense and 55 speed F, on top of also Intimidate, on top of also only one weakness, this could legitimately be like a really good Pokemon in my opinion. Albeit, I use really good very loosely, like I think that's more so comparative to the lower tiers, but I could actually see this maybe being an RU Pokemon. In terms of moves that this Pokemon already has access to. So Hisuian Qwilfish already has access to Spikes, which is great. Albeit, we don't know if necessarily it'll keep Toxic Spikes, but I would assume being a Poison type and the fact that it already has Spikes, that it will probably get Toxic Spikes. On top of this as well, it has options like, most of its options truthfully come to the special end, but it does at least guarantee you get Poison Jab, which is pretty useful. We don't really see any dark physical options, which is kind of unfortunate. But again, that's probably going to come with the actual game. If nothing else, I could totally see maybe like a Night Slash or like a Crunch. Probably Crunch. But without having that, to be fair, if we just go off of moves that it will probably get that are similar to Qwilfish, Destiny Bond, Dual Spikes, Taunt, all those would be pretty useful. And it could rock out with a Mono Poison set and probably be at least fine enough for the RU tier, in my opinion. In terms of Hisuian, actually we'll go to Overqwil next. It's a bit out of order, but it makes the most sense evolutionary line. So Overqwil, this is our first new evolution that we're gonna go over. It's got some decent moves, albeit nothing too much added on from the regular Hisuian Qwilfish, but it still has some decent moves. In terms of what we still get the Spikes, we still get the Poison Jab. We don't really get anything new on the dark end physically. However, in terms of new moves, we get a move that is called Barb Barrage, which Barb Barrage, at least for this game, is pretty good. I don't know if these moves will end up actually carrying over in some way, shape, or form, but they would definitely need to be adapted. So I'm not going to count them in the discussion for this, similar to the Hisuian Typhlosion signature move, which was Raging Fury. So I'm not going to count these in discussion, by the way. I just wanted to acknowledge that it is a thing. In terms of Overqwil, though, I mean, it has some pretty good stats. 115 attack, 95 phys def, 65 speed F. Intimidate will help this out a lot as a really good physical tank. And the typing, again, really helps with that Poison Dark typing only being weak to one type, being ground. So in terms of where I think Overqwil will end up being, I think this will also end up being an RU Pokemon, maybe UU. I'll put it in RU because I think that one of these will definitely keep the tier. The other one might go to NU or might even rise to UU. So it's really going to depend. I think this is kind of a weird case, and it's truthfully just going to depend on what moves Hisuian Qwilfish gets, because right now it does not really seem to get anything, at least barring move tutors. But I think that at the very least, off of what it already has and what Qwilfish had, it seems pretty promising to get some really good stuff. So I think that one of these will be UU and one of these will be RU, and the other will either go to UU or NU respectively. Next up, though, we have Hisuian Sneasel, which has some pretty good stats. They didn't really change from regular Sneasel, but they didn't really need to. Poison Fighting is pretty good typing, and the fact it's a lot faster than Toxicroak is really huge. Still hits almost as hard as Toxicroak does. In terms of moves that this thing gets, we see that Sneasel gets, at the very least, Poison Jab, Sword Stance, and Close Combat, which is already pretty damning. If we go off of actual tutors, though, this thing also ends up getting some options like Shadow Claw, which is great. I could totally see this actually being a really good RU Pokemon, maybe even U, but I think that RU is a pretty safe bet. Toxicroak has never been like one of the most destructive Pokemon in the tier, but I think that this will probably have a slight edge over it just because of the speed. The 20 base, well actually the 30 base speed difference I think will truthfully make more of a difference than like the 10 attack difference. And the coverage already is pretty good in my opinion. Next up, we have the very obvious new Dialga and Palkia forms. I did want to still talk about these even though they're very, very obviously going to be Ubers. Palkia got 20 more speed in favor of losing 20 attack, and then Dialga lost 20 attack for 20 more speed F. So these will both definitively, if they are usable in the next games, be like really obnoxious Pokemon. Once we get a competitive format with these, I think that the Palkia Origin form, I should say, will be a menace to teams. Even if it's forced to lock into Origin Orb, that 20 base speed, throw it on a Webs team with 150 special attack, it's not going to care about losing an item because it'll just spam Surf and Dragon moves and run wild. As for Dialga, this will be really good for lead sets. Dialga doesn't care about having an item too much, albeit Leftovers and stuff like Scarf and Life Orb are really good items. But if it had to go without an item, I feel like it'd be pretty useful because you could run like maybe a bulk up set with a bulk up Breast Talk set and just keep the extra Spit F, which while it lost 20 attack to do that, I think it could still be pretty good. Also, I could obviously just run Rocks leads and just be a bit tankier if it's not really caring about preserving the long game. So I think that Origin Dialga could maybe be seeing some light and competitive. I think a Palkia Origin will 100% though, personally. Next up though, we have Hisuian Samurott. So Samurott gained 8 in attack, it lost 5 in defense, it lost 5 in HP, it gained 15 speed, and it lost 5... Okay. Let me go through. So it lost 5 in HP, but it also lost 5 in... Actually, it also lost 5 in defense and special defense. In turn, it gained 15 in its speed stat. It lost 8 in special attack, and then it gained 8 in physical attack. So, very, very confusing, I know. Water Dark typing is pretty decent, has a Psychic immunity right there, and Water offensively and defensively is pretty typing. So, Water Dark could be really useful. I think that this is really going to be moveset dependent entirely on what Hisuian Samurott ends up actually getting. It already is confirmed to get Night Slash, Sword Stance, Aqua Tail, which are all pretty good options. Obviously, the signature move, but again, we're not counting those. In terms of Samurott's continued on moves in the move tutors, it also gets stuff like Psycho Cut, which is pretty useful for fighting types because it does have that fighting weakness. So I think this will be a pretty okay Pokemon. I mean, realistically, having that 15 extra speed could actually maybe see some use in NU versus maybe dropping like a PUZU sort of tier. I don't think this will be like a really good RU Pokemon. This will probably be realistically NU, but it'll be like a really good NU Pokemon in my opinion. Next up though, we have Hisuian Lilligant. Hisuian Lilligant, I think, is going to be an easy UU Pokemon. Right now, this already is confirmed for Hustle, actually, as a placeholder. And I get this is a placeholder, but this is one of the few abilities that, like, actually changed. So I think that already does set it above, let's say, like, for example, Samurott or Arcanine, where they have all their placeholder abilities, and we know none of them yet. But this at least seems to have Hustle, which, if it keeps Hustle, that's really useful, because it has moves like Close Combat, Drain Punch, Leaf Blade, has also, I believe Poison Jab was one of the moves it had confirmed. Sadly, no setup options, but that's really fine. I see this actually mostly being a Scarfer because currently it has 1 of 5 speed and 1 of 5 physical attack, which is a huge jump. Its stats, it lost like 60 special attack, it gained 15 speed, and then it gained the rest in physical attack. So I think realistically this will probably be some sort of obnoxious Pokemon, in my opinion, as a solid UU threat. Now, to be fair, Grass Fighting isn't necessarily most broken in like an OU setting, but it might have some use in OU. I can definitely see this being a viable Pokemon in OU, but probably leaning OU sort of realm. In terms of getting banned from UU, I can maybe see that happening. It really just depends on how the tier shapes up, though. And if there's any really broken Gen 9 mechanic where this ends up being transferable to, if at all possible, for transfer to that game. But I think this will end up being either UU or OU. I'll put it in UU for now, and we'll just see how the tier shapes up. Next up, Basculin. For the Basculin, this is specifically White Stripe Basculin, which is like the origin Basculin, I should say. Same exact stats, same exact placeholder ability, besides the fact that it's rattled, which I'm not sure what it's taking place of. The type for this Basculin still ends up being pure water. It still seems to have adaptability. It still seems to have pretty garbage moves. I think this will probably just be an NU Pokemon with the Basculegion. I have to go over each Basculegion separately. Basically, the stat difference for these, male Basculin has 120 they both have 120 HP, 65 defense, 75 speed F, and 78 speed. And the stat differences come in the attack forms. Male Basculin has 112 physical attack and 80 special attack, and female has 92 special attack and 110 in the special attack. So basically, female got a 30 boost in the I got a 20 boost in the special attack, and the male form got a 20 boost in the physical attack. So I think if male Basculegion, let's see. So let's look at the movesets. Basculegion. So Basculegion has guaranteed at the very least Aqua Jet, Zen Headbutt, Crunch, Shadow Ball. All of these are pretty not bad moves. It has Hex as well for at least Basculin if it's female. So in terms of the tutor moves, at the very least, we see that Basculegion has access to stuff like Zen Headbutt, Icy Wind. It has obviously access to stuff like Omnis. I already said Omnis. Water Pulse, Psychic. It doesn't really seem to have great options on the special end. I think that realistically we'll see the blue or the blue striped will probably be NU below. I think that male though, the red striped might end up being RU because I think that just the higher physical attack as well as just the fact that it has slightly better physical moves could end up seeing RU if not NU. I don't really know. Realistically, either A, Basculegion. Actually, I think that realistically Basculin is gonna go down to LC, but I think it'll be. Actually, no. This will definitely be banned from LC. What am I saying? Yeah, okay. So this will end up in NU below just off of ban because 98 speed and 92 attack with adaptability. If it kept that, that's easy ban. That's a very easy ban for the tier. Realistically though, I think that honestly, Basculin might even just be better, to be completely honest. At least the white stripe. Well, the female, I should say. For male, I think it might have the edge of just being slightly harder hitting and maybe being like a Trick Room threat or maybe even a Scarf threat. But I'm actually going to take it back. I think this will also be NU below. They'll all kind of suck. Hisuian Zorua, this will be an easy LC threat, but I think it'll be a good Pokemon in LC. The stats, lost 5 in physical attack, gained 5 in special attack. It then also seemed to lose 5 in HP and gain 5 in speed. So I think this will be a pretty good threat. Normal Ghost is a really, really phenomenal typing. In terms of moves that this Pokemon ended up getting, this seemed to get some decent options. For example, this guarantee has options to Shadow Sneak, Nasty Plot, Shadow Claw. It also has options to Swift. And then for the tutor moves, this seems to also get access to stuff like Sludge Bomb and Shadow Ball and Dark Pulse. And Snarl too, which is Snarl's pretty good. I think that realistically this will easily be a really threatening Pokemon in LC. And as for Hisuian Zoroark, I think this is a pretty clear UU Pokemon. With the stats, this thing ended up getting 110 in speed, so it got a 5 speed buff, a 5 special attack buff, and it lost 5 in physical attack and HP. So it's the exact same stat changes that happened. Oh, my fucking Alexa or whatever went off. Anyway, so this got same exact stat boost that Hisuian Zora got, which is pretty good in my opinion. The coverage that this thing gets is also really nice. It has options to Shadow Ball, Nasty Plot, Extra Sensory. Swift is sadly the best special normal move it currently seems to have. But it's not a huge deal. Well, barring Hyper Beam, I should say. But Hyper Beam isn't really that useful in competitive. It has options as well, like Sludge Bomb, Flamethrower, etc. So it keeps a lot of the same coverage that Zoroark got. It's just better. It hits faster. It has better special attack. This could easily be a really threatening Pokemon in Ubers. And I'll have more to go into that in a later video. I'm actually gonna hot take keep this in U. It could be OU though for sure. Next up is Hisuian Braviary. It has really good special attack at 112. I'm not even gonna do the math on these, but it's 65 speed, 70 special defense, 112 special attack, 70 physical defense, 83 physical attack, and 110 HP. Placeholder abilities are all the exact same. Personally, I don't know if this will end up actually being that good. In terms of moves that this has, it has options like Air Slash, Hurricane. It has options like, for example, Psychic. Yeah, it has Psychic, and it has Mystical Fire. This will be not bad Pokemon. I think it's just a clear RU Pokemon with sheer force. It's a bit too slow to really be like a UU Pokemon, but I think RU is a good place. Next up, we have Avalugg. So Avalugg Hisuian form, I believe this is an Ice Rock typing, I want to say. Yeah, Ice Rock. And it has the exact same stats besides the fact that it lost 10 in SPDF, lost 10 in special attack, and it gained 10 in speed and gained 10 in attack. So actually it changed a lot of stats. Strong Jaw is a new ability on this Pokemon. I'm not sure what the others ended up being, but I will let you know when we know them. So in terms of Hisuian Avalugg, obviously it has options. Really, most of its options for the regular moveset come from special side, barring Rock Slide and Ice Shard. But Ice Shard is pretty okay on this, to be completely honest. I think the priorities could be pretty useful. In terms of Hisuian Avalugg, though, it has options like Stealth Rock, which is pretty useful. It has Iron Head, it has high horsepower. So this will truthfully definitely still be a new Pokemon, but I think it'll actually be an okay one. This realistically, that Ice Rock typing is not that good in singles. If it had maybe this could be a good Trick Room Pokemon in VGC potentially, but I would have preferred if it got 28 speed for that personally. Hisuian fucking Slagoo, not gonna be that good. However, Hisuian Goodra, this will be a very good Pokemon. Basically, this just lost 10 in HP and 20 in speed, but it gained 30 in Phys Def, which with the Dragon Steel typing, and it seems so far it's at least clinched for Overcoat, this will be a very, very good Pokemon. I can actually see this being an OU threat personally with some of the coverage this thing gets. To put in perspective some of the moves that Hisuian Goodra ended up getting, this gets options like, for example, Dragon Pulse, gets Hydro Pump. On top of that as well, it gets stuff like Flamethrower, Thunderbolt, Icy, Draco, Steel Beam. Easy OU Pokemon in my opinion. I really cannot see this Pokemon being below OU, I'm not gonna lie. It's just gonna be so obnoxious as a tank, and that typing alone, it's the same typing as Dialga, which is already a pretty good typing offensively. Next up, we have Hisuian Decidueye. So Hisuian Decidueye has pretty okay stats. It lost like, it has 88 HP, 112 attack, 80 defense, 95 speed, special attack, 95 speed F, and 60 speed. In terms of the moves, it has options like Spikes, for example, which Spikes are actually pretty good on this Pokemon. It kind of gives it any use, in my opinion. It also has options like Leaf Blade, Brave Bird. It doesn't really seem to get any good fighting option, though, outside of like the best one really being Rock Smash for the physical end. It gets options like Bulk Up, though, so my guess is this will probably get something in the physical fighting end for later on. But for right now, honestly, I gotta put this in the NU tier. It's just a worse Decidueye in my opinion, with the only edge it really has being Hazards. I think it's a good physical fighting move though, besides Rock Smash. I can totally see this being an RU Pokemon, but as of right now, I can't in good faith put it in the RU tier. It kind of just has to sit in the NU tier. Next up though, we have Wyrdeer, which Wyrdeer is kind of an interesting one. I'm not sure where to really put this thing, to be completely honest. It has some really okay stats, I guess is the best way to put it. With 105 attack, 105 special attack, 72 in Phys Def, 75 in defense, and in Speed Def, 103 in HP, and 65 in speed. So if this keeps Intimidate, it'll be an okay Pokemon at best. It's definitely an NU Pokemon though, for sure. I can't really see this being an RU Pokemon, even with the Psychic typing. Realistically, Wyrdeer just doesn't have the boost to pull it off. To be fair, physically it has some good stuff like Wild Charge, High Horsepower, Zen Headbutt, but in the end, like Psychic Normal is just such a shit typing, it's not really gonna pull. Next up though, we have the Kleavor. Kleavor I think is an easy UU Pokemon actually. While the typing kind of sucks, I think Kleavor having Sheer Force with the 85 speed and 135 attack is already really good in its camp. On top of this as well, it has options like Rock Slide, for example, in its moveset, which actually I think it's gonna help a lot. In terms of other options though, it has moves such as Sonnet if you want to go for a bit harder hitting, but honestly with Sheer Force, Rock Slide is probably a better option there. You have Psycho Cut, which is going to get Sheer Force boosted. You have Aerial Ace, which is just a really good option for fighting types, to be honest. Now sadly, this doesn't really seem to have the best option for Steel types outside of Rock Smash. But it does, actually no, it has Close Combat through regular level up. Yeah, it's really good actually. It has Sword Stance too. It has options like Stealth Rocks. This is a very easy UU Pokemon in my opinion. On a Webs team, this could definitely perform in OU, but I think it will ultimately reside in the UU tier. Next up, we have Sneasler. This is a very clear OU Pokemon for me. It has 130 speed and 120 special, 120 attack. Well, 120 speed, 130 attack. In terms of moves this thing has, it has the same sort of moves we mentioned that were really good on fucking Hisuian Sneasel. It has stuff like Close Combat, Poison Jab, Sword Stance, Shadow Claw. This is a very easy OU Pokemon in my opinion. Next up, we have Enamoris. I think that the regular form is going to be in OU, and I think that the incarnate form is going to be in UU. Initially, I actually thought the incarnate form is going to be a lot better to a significant degree, and the Therian form was going to be, and I think I call this incarnate, but it's Therian form. But the Therian form I thought was going to be like an RU Pokemon. But realistically, with the bulk it has 74 HP, 110 in defense, and 100 in speed def, with 135 special attack, and then 46 speed. This could be a pretty good tank with a Calm on Draining Kiss. Could actually be really useful on this as a breaker, while trying to take hits as well as possible. Whereas Enamoris benefits from the 106 speed, and then the bit frailer stats with 74, 70, 80 respectively. So I think these will be pretty good Pokemon. It gets coverage like Earth Power, Mystical Fire, and sadly it does lack a good flying move, but I think that'll probably come with like Air Slash at least, if not Hurricane from Tutors. But again, even that outside of assuming, it's a fairy type that has really good coverage for pretty much every fairy weakness, and it's also a flying type with coverage for pretty much every flying weakness. Earth Power hits both rock and electric respectively, while also hitting poison for the fairy types. And then also steel, it hits steel there too. And then even if it's a flying steel type, it has mystical fire for those. And that also hits the ice type. So it covers all of its weaknesses like really well. On top of that as well, it has 135 special attack still in the incarnate form, with 115 in the physical attack. In terms of VGC, I think Incarnate will probably run more physical sets, because for the physical moves, this does get some good stuff. Morris ends up getting options such as, it gets Player, for example, it gets Zen Headbutt, I believe was the physical move, yeah, Zen Headbutt, and it also gets, for the special end, as I mentioned, stuff like Sludge Bomb and Calm Mind are both there. I didn't mention Calm Mind, but it also gets Psychic too, so I think this will be a very easy OU Pokemon, with Therian being the UU tier. Finally, though, we have Ursaluna, I believe. Yeah, Ursaluna. Okay. So this gets options like Fire Punch, Thunder Punch, Ice Punch, Rock Slide, Shadow Claw, High Horsepower. Oh my fucking god, this actually gets a lot of coverage. Just off the tutors alone, I don't even know if I need to go over the coverage on this other set. Yeah, okay, so this doesn't really offer anything. Tutors are where it's all at for this Pokemon. In terms of the stat line, Ursaluna is a normal ground type with bulletproof at least seeming confirmed. Guts and a Nerve for the other abilities, but those are placeholder. 130 HP, 140 attack, 105 defense, 45 speed def, high special attack, 80 speed def, and 50 speed. This will be a really good trigger Pokemon in RU in my opinion. Normal ground is pretty good typing. This will actually be a really obnoxious Pokemon in RU in my opinion. I think this will be one of those Pokemon that will probably find itself on OU Trick Room teams just off of the typing alone, because OU doesn't really have a good Trick Room ground type outside of Rhyperior. Like, Rhyperior is the best one that really comes to mind, but not having a 4x weakness is pretty good, and this thing has pretty similar to both, but just better Spadef to Rhyperior. Actually, it gives it a little bit of Fizz Def, but gets a lot more Spadef. And then also, no 4x weakness. Bulletproof is pretty good, because it helps with stuff like Focus Blast, for example, which is already a special way to hit it. It's a really good special way to hit it. So that's just completely taken out of the equation. On top of that as well, the coverage is insane on this Pokemon. I will say, if this gets a better ability like Sheer Force, let's say for breaking, or if it even just keeps Guts and we get a confirmation on that, this could end up being a UU Pokemon, but I think for now, it's just a pretty good RU Pokemon in my opinion. If you guys enjoyed, of course, leave a like below and subscribe for more content like this. We're probably streaming Legends Arceus right now. I don't know if I mentioned this in the beginning, but if I didn't, we are currently live if you're watching this on day of. Shoutouts to our channel members being Zeke Zero, Josh AK Ultra Player, Mia, Rika, and Randy HLD. You guys are amazing and I appreciate the support on the channel. If anyone currently joined today, I'm recording this before streaming, so I'm sorry for not mentioning you as well. With that said though, I will see you guys in tomorrow's video. Until then, peace out guys.